What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 12, Catch 22. Let's talk about Sunny and Vea. So when we see Sunny and Vea, we find out that they consummated their relationship. So Sunny finally got him some the night before. This is after they had that huge argument when Sunny found out that Vea traveled to South Africa with her ex-boyfriend. And he didn't find out because Vea told him. He found out because he took her phone from her and he saw pictures of Vea and her ex-boyfriend Rory on the plane together. So they had a huge argument. Sonny acted like he wasn't going to put up with it, but then Vea convinced him, to come back. And she told him that there's nothing going on between her and her ex. It's purely platonic. And she explained to Sonny that, hey, Rory is my ex-boyfriend. There's nothing romantic going on between us. And we've been through a lot. He's really been there for me through some really tough times in my life, when I lost my baby, when I lost my brother. And so he's just a really good friend to me. And I just, he's just there for emotional support. So Sonny was like, you know what, I can understand that. But could he really? Because after the next morning, Sonny's in a really good mood because, they finally had sex. And so Vea decided to take advantage of him being in a good mood. And she asked him, was he willing to meet Rory? So very reluctantly, Sunny said yes, he would be up to meeting her ex-boyfriend Rory. So before they actually meet, we see Rory and he's waiting for them at the pool hall / bar. And it seemed like to me that Rory was a little bit uptight and a little bit on the defensive side because he acted like as if he was expecting Sunny to come in with a lot of aggression and to be really combative, and he had to I don't know, he just seemed uptight to me. Like he wasn't chill, he wasn't cool, calm, and collected. He acted like, he knew that there was going to be a fight, like he was ready for a physical altercation with Sunny. So when Sunny and Vea finally do show up, Vea introduces the two men to one another, and it seemed like to me that, obviously there was tension there. Obviously there was tension between the two men. And it was a good thing that Rory apologized to Sunny. He apologized for how, I guess, Sunny found out about him being there. Like, he really wasn't there for any ill intent. He's just there for emotional support for Vea, and that, he wants them to flourish as a couple, basically. So after that, Sunny says to Rory, well, it's a little bit unusual for, a current boyfriend to accept the presence of his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend in the picture. And Rory tells Sunny, look, hey, if Vea doesn't want me to be here, I'm out. All she has to do is say the word, and I have no problem going back to my life back in the United States, because I put everything on hold to come here to be an emotional support for her. So then Sunny turns to Vea and says, okay, so what say you about him leaving? And Vea was like, I don't want him to leave. So then Sunny directed all of his anger towards Rory. And he was basically telling Rory, like, I want you to leave. I don't want you to be here. And Rory was like, it's not for you to say. It's for her to say, because I'm here for her. And whatever issues that you got going on with me being here, you need to take that up with Vea, not me. This is between the two of y'all. So Sunny once again looks at Vea and asks her, are you going to tell him to leave? And Vea, she was 10 toes down and she was like, no, I don't want him to leave. So then, of course, Sunny got upset and he walked out and he tells her, you got your ex-boyfriend here with you. You don't need nothing from me. Y'all have a great time here in South Africa. And he takes off. Sunny, please let this be the last time that you walk away. Please let this be the last time that you walk away, because the back and forth is getting a little bit ridiculous. Either you're going to put up with y'all being a throuple, or you're not going to put up with it. But it's not going to change. It's not going to change. Vea needs this man in her life for emotional support. It is what it is. If you can't accept it, that's cool. You can't accept it. Make this be the last time that you walk away, because the next time that you come back to Vea, if you decide to come back to her, it's going to be something else that's going to come up that you're not going to like. And you're going to threaten to walk away again. I'm over it. I'm completely over it. Either you put up with what this is, or you leave, and you leave for good. I feel like Vea and Rory need to work out their relationship and they need to get back together. I understand that they've broken up. Maybe there's no longer a romantic connection between them, but like I'm not understanding. If Rory is willing to put up with all of this and having to have these confrontations with Vea's boyfriends, then he must feel very strongly for her. You know, for him to put his life on hold, to travel all the way to South Africa just for emotional support, to be willing to hide the first couple of days that they were in South Africa, to be willing to do all of this, to put his, to put his life at risk because one of these days he might run into a boyfriend of Vea's that's not down with the throuple, that's not going to be as understanding as Sunny, that's not just going to walk away if they don't like it. So if he's willing to put up with all of that, like, well, then why don't y'all just be back together? And if Vea feels like she cannot move on without Rory being by her side, maybe Vea and Rory need to work out their relationship and try to figure some things out. Like, I don't know. I think this is weird. I think it's very strange that she needs this man in her life like this. That she needs his protection and all. I think it's weird. I think it's strange. I'm not understanding at all. And also, Vea has this childlike quality about her, and I think for a real mature man, that might be a huge turnoff. This neediness to have Rory there to protect her, to be there for her, her not being able to stand on her own as a woman, as an independent woman, needing, I don't know. To me, it's just very strange and it's very weird. And Sunny, if you don't like it, if you can't get down with the get down, then please let this be the last time that you walk away from her. Don't come back. Moving on to Vanya and Bojo. So she's FaceTiming her cousin, and she's telling her cousin how Bojo said he doesn't have a romantic connection with her. He doesn't feel a romantic connection with her. The cousin wants to know if Bojo is possibly hiding something. For example, maybe his ex is back in his life, somewhere in the background, or something. Like something is going on with Bojo to make her very suspicious of him. I feel like it's just human nature. If his feelings for Vanya are just not there anymore after she arrived in Croatia, then it is what it is. His feelings are just not there. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's back with his ex or there's some other woman lurking around in the background. He just doesn't have that romantic connection. Relationships that are online, that are like 100% online in the beginning, they can turn left once the two people meet in person. Just because I got along on the internet, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry over into real life. So to me, I don't think it's weird or odd that he doesn't have romantic feelings for her. I think it's weird and odd that she's still willing to stay in Croatia to try to see if he's going to develop those feelings. I think that's kind of bizarre because if I was Vanya, I would go back home, or if I had to stay in Croatia, then I wouldn't have anything more to do with him. I wouldn't talk to him anymore. So Vanya tells her cousin that Bojo texted her and he wants her to meet his friends. So she sees this as a good sign, like, an implication that maybe she must be more than just a friend to Bojo if he's willing to introduce her to his friends. And I was thinking in my head when I saw this scene, so now here it begins, where she's going to overanalyze every little thing and try to like figure out, is he doing this because he really, really likes me, or am I still friend zone? And I think that's a very exhausting way to carry out a relationship. Every little thing the other person does, you're analyzing it to figure out, do they like me, or do they just like me? So Bojo tells us he's kind of confused on why he doesn't have any romantic feelings towards Vanya. He says online they really clicked. They were like Fred and Barney, Rocky and Bullwinkle. And I was like, sir, those are friends. Those characters that you just named, they're friends. They're not in a romantic relationship. So if you're comparing your relationship to Vanya, your online relationship, if you're comparing it to Fred and Barney and Rocky and Bullwinkle, then you're basically saying that you still felt like y'all were friends in the online stage. There was no romantic connection at all, even when y'all were communicating online. So she shows up They're sitting down with his friends, having drinks, and Vanya asks the friends, what type does Bojo usually date? What type of women does he usually date? And they tell her, well, his ex is a lot like you. She's very similar to you. So then Vanya kind of, she felt some kind of way about this. She was like, oh, so am I just like a replacement for the ex? Like he's not really over her. So because he can't be with her, he's just using me as a replacement of her. So Vanya wants to know if the ex is still in the picture. Bojo reassures her that no, my ex is no longer in the picture. In fact, my ex has moved on and she has a new boyfriend right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that his feelings are cut off, that he doesn't have feelings for her. So Vanya then asks Bojo who broke up with who, and Bojo tells her she broke up with me. And of course, once again, Vanya is like, thinking to herself, well, maybe when she cut it off, he wasn't ready for the relationship to end and he might still be harboring feelings for his ex. So because she only has 3 weeks in Croatia, she wants them to speed it up. She wants them to take as much advantage of this trip as possible for them to determine if they're going to be able to, have a future together. So she tells their friends, I've tried everything with him. He hasn't even kissed me. I offered him to sleep on my couch in my apartment when I first arrived. He didn't want to do that. So the friends are like putting all this pressure on Bojo, to make a move, to take her up on her offer, to try to make something romantic happen between them. And Bojo's like, you know what? We just need to relax and chill and let things happen naturally. We don't have to force things because we are on limited time. And Vanya is like, no, I don't have time for that. I need things to happen. I need things to happen quickly. So then Bojo gets frustrated and he's like, you know what? How about this? For the rest of the time that you're in Croatia, why don't you spend that time alone? And I was going to introduce you to my mom, but I've changed my mind on that as well. So then Vanya leaves the establishment crying. Vanya, the longer you stay with this man, the more embarrassed you're going to be. He already embarrassed you the first time around when he said that he didn't feel a romantic connection with you. You came to Croatia with, very high expectations that this was a love connection between the two of you. This was going to be the man of your life. Y'all were going to have this awesome future together as a couple. And then he let you down when he told you, I don't feel what you feel. I don't feel anything between us. No chemistry, no romance, no nothing. That was the first time that you let him embarrass you. And then you decided to stick it out because you believe that he might change. Like he was still holding that door open of romantic feelings possibly developing within him. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to stick it out. And now he's told you, you know what? You can go ahead and chill in Croatia by your damn self. And I'm not even going to let you, I'm not even going to let you meet my mother. The longer you stay, girl, the more he's going to embarrass you. And he might be going back and forth with his feelings. He might be like, okay, let me give it a try. Let me try to do something romantic with her just to see if there's a spark. And you're going to go with that and you're going to run away with that. And then he's going to realize, oh, there's really no spark. And then he's going to let you down again. Girl, go home. Go home and leave this man alone. It's just not going to work out. He's just not that into you. If a man tells you up front, I don't feel a romantic connection, it's time to go. It's time to bounce. As much as it's going to hurt even more if you stick around because then he's going to probably leave you for somebody else and do all the romantic things that you wish he did with you. He's going to be doing it for somebody else right in front of your face. Just go home. Let's talk about Joe and Magna. The last time that we saw Joey, the producers were at his apartment because he was supposed to leave to go to Poland. So they're knocking on his door, they're calling him, he's not responding. And it made it seem like, the show made it seem like, that Joey probably was having second thoughts about going to Poland because Magda had told him the day before that when he comes to Poland, there will be no sexual activities between them. And so the producers wanted us to believe that he changed his mind about going to Poland because he wasn't going to be able to have sex with Magda. Well, that's not the case. Joey overslept. So he's able to make it to the airport on time. And on the way to the airport, he's like talking about his anxiety and how nervous he is about this trip because a lot is riding on this trip, according to Joey. He has to figure out if there's really a future between him and Magna. They got to talk about immigration stuff. They got to talk about marriage and children. So to him, there's a lot riding on this trip. And then he's worried that he might not be able to see a future with someone who he cannot be sexually compatible with. And he won't know whether or not he's sexually sexually compatible because she says that she will not have sex with him until she comes to the United States. And he's probably thinking, well, I'm not going to bring you to the United States until I figure out whether or not we're sexually compatible. So it's like a catch-22. So Joey is able to make his flight. And while he's on his way to Poland, we get to meet Magda. So she is an avid volleyball player. She plays volleyball like all the time. I'm not sure why she doesn't do it professionally. She loves it that much. She talks to us about how she and Joey met, which was through a mutual friend. She talks about their instant connection, and she also tells us that she's 100% sure that she wants to marry him. She is locked in with this man, locked in. So she's having a conversation with her mother, and her mother is telling her to be very cautious with Joey, to take her time with Joey because she was hurt before. So we find out that in a previous relationship, Magna left Poland to go to Germany to be with someone who I'm assuming she met online. And that relationship didn't work out, and the guy ended up cheating on her. So her mom is like, we don't want a repeat of that, but it seems like there's a pattern here. You meet somebody from another country, you get all worked up about them, and then you take off to go be with them, and then it doesn't work out, and you're back in Poland. So her mom is, telling her to take it slow. Then she tells her mom that she does have trust issues with Joey because Joey had confided in her that he did have sex with another woman early on in their relationship. Now, Magna says that before, when they, like a week into their relationship, she had made it very clear to Joey that she was committed to him and only him, which should have given him the impression that this was a monogamous, committed relationship. So after that, he tells her that while they were together, he slept with somebody else. So there's a lot of confusion as far as, did he understand that they were monogamous and that they were committed? Did he understand at that time? Or, did he know, or did he not understand? Did he not know that he was in a committed relationship with Magna when he was messing around with this other woman? So I guess that needs to be cleared up between the two of them, because Joey told us that he had no idea that they were locked and loaded with one another. Magna tells us that she had made it clear to him that she was committed to him, but she doesn't really talk about, was he committed to her? Was the feelings reciprocated from him to her? So it's a little bit complicated. So Joey arrives in Poland. When they see each other at the airport, he gives her a great big hug. He picks her up, and when he was hugging her and picking her up, because she had on a really short dress, her dress rolled up in the back. So all her business was exposed. And yeah, all her business was exposed. That's all I got to say about that. So Magna tells us that this trip is very, very important because it's going to let her know whether or not Joey is serious about them being in this relationship. Do I have any thoughts and opinions? Okay, Joey to me kind of comes off like a player. Okay, he kind of comes off like he's a player. I could be wrong. He could be someone who is very serious about settling down. But he kind of comes off like he might not be ready for a relationship. And I hope he doesn't put too much on the sex part. I hope he doesn't think that them not having sex is going to determine how their future should play out. Because if the feelings are there, it doesn't matter if you can't have sex right away. I mean, you're going to have sex eventually, right? And if you really truly are into each other and love each other, the sex is going to work out. You don't have to worry about, oh, we're going to be sexually compatible. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. I know people out there believe differently. They're like, no matter how in love you are with each other, the sex can make or break a relationship. I don't think so. I think if the love is there, if the respect is there, like genuinely there, like this person is for you. Y'all have the same desire for one another, the same intentions for one another, and you truly love and respect each other, then everything can work out everywhere else. I just think that, I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm a hopeless romantic, but I think that if you really do love and respect each other, you can make anything work out. So initially, if y'all are not sexually compatible, y'all can learn to be sexually compatible. Moving on to Brian and Ingrid. So Brian comes to pick up Ingrid from her house. He brings a toy for her little boy. And I can't help but think to myself, whenever he does those little gestures, like, he brings something for her son and he brought something for her mom, I feel like these are just these are just little acts of manipulation. I don't see them as really genuine. I don't want to think that about Brian, but that's like where my mind like immediately goes to. So they talk about how the meeting with her mother went so horribly. And Ingrid tells him they're driving on their way to Recife, which is a town that Brian really enjoys in Brazil. So on their way there, they're talking about the meeting with her mom, and she tells Brian that, my parents really, really like my ex, the father of my son. My father saw him like his own son. They really, really loved him, and they would love for me and him to get back together again. But I do what I want to do, and I'm not influenced by my parents with what they want or what they think. So hopefully Brian feels a little bit better about that. So when they get to Recife, he stays at his own little apartment that he's renting down there, and she stays in a hotel. And Brian tells us that she wanted to stay in her own hotel because she just wanted to have her own space and her own privacy. Brian, if that doesn't tell you that this woman is not into you, I don't know what will. Because in the beginning of a relationship, when it's hot and heavy, y'all cannot be apart from one another. The fact that she is willing to stay in another hotel to be separate and apart from you should tell you that this woman is not that into you. And I don't know why you can't see that. So the next day, Brian suggests that they go bike riding. And his idea of bike riding is that she will be riding the bike and he will have a belt attached to the bike that he's going to be holding on to while she's riding the bike. And she's basically going to be like pulling him behind her. So she's impressed that Brian is willing to do, like, he doesn't let his wheelchair, his disability get in the way of him living his life and having a good time. So she's impressed by that. So they talk about their future when they stop for drinks. They talk about their future together. And Brian says that, he's looking for a partner, but he knows that as he gets older, he's going to need more assistance. So he wants someone who will be able to basically help take care of him as he gets older. And Ingrid tells him straight up, and she's as blunt as possible. She says, I am not looking forward to be anybody's caretaker. No, that's not for me. That is not for me. And I'm glad that they're having this conversation. And I'm glad that Brian was honest about that. That this is what he's expecting in his partner. He is looking for a partner slash caretaker. And she told him, no, that's not what I'm going to sign up for. That's not what I'm interested in. And we all know in real life, Brian and Ingrid broke up, and it wasn't a nice breakup either. I think it was an ugly breakup because evidently Brian got online and was calling her a whore. Moving on to Lauren and Faith. So they arrive at her family's home and we get to meet Faith's family. She has her mom, she has a sister, she has another older sister who's also a trans woman, and she has two brothers who are twins. So they're having dinner and they're talking about Lauren and Faith and how they met and the history of their relationship. And the family asks, so what is y'all's status? Because y'all been together for quite a while, but Faith introduced you as her friend. So what is y'all's status? And Faith tells her family, we're friends. We're just friends for right now. So then they ask him if he knows whether or not Faith is a trans woman. And Lauren was like, yeah, of course, I know. He says that he prefers to date trans women. He doesn't want to date boys or men. He doesn't want to date cisgendered women. He wants to date trans women. That's his thing. That's what he's attracted to. So he's fully aware of that. So then later on, Faith has an opportunity to talk to her sisters, and they ask, why have you friend zoned him, basically? Because we thought this man was your boyfriend. You kind of talked about him as if y'all had a romantic connection, but you're coming here telling us he's your friend. So what's really going on? So Faith tells her sisters, well, I found out that he cheated on me and he has the disease of whores. She says he's got the disease of whores. And so the sisters are like, oh, okay, so what are you going to do now? So what is y'all's future? And Faith says she doesn't really know. She's thinking about it. And so her cisgendered sister tells her, if I were you, I would think long and hard before I decided to proceed with Lauren. But her transgendered sister tells the cisgender sister, well, first of all, you don't understand the situation that me and Faith are in, because we're trans women. So the transgender sister tells Faith, girl, you know, I understand that that hurt you that he cheated on you, but it's really hard for trans women to find cisgendered men who really are interested in us, who can take us seriously, and we're not just, you know, their sex toys or whatever, or curiosity for them. It's hard for us to find men who really want to be in serious relationships with us. So I understand that he hurt you, girl, but you can move past that and you can still proceed with your relationship with him. When she said that, I was like, wow, you know, that's deep. That's really, really deep. Because in any other type of situation, for example, in like a heterosexual relationship, somebody, or even in a homosexual relationship, somebody cheats on you, you're like, okay, I'm gonna just move on to the next. But in a situation where you're trans, because of the fact that you're trans, and because, you know, people probably don't take you very seriously, or they just see you as a fetish, or they just see you as a curiosity, it's not easy just to drop this zero, move on to a hero. It's not that easy at all. So if you find someone who wants to have a relationship with you, and the jury is still out on whether or not Lauren really wants to have a serious relationship with Faith, because I think Lauren is playing games. But besides that, it's really hard for a trans woman to find a man who really wants them for who they are, who accepts them for who they are, and sees them as a human being and just wants to love them and be with them and commit to them. Her sister tells her, think about it before you decide to completely drop him. Really, really sit back and think about what you're doing, because it's going to be hard for you to find another dude that's really going to be into you and who's really going to love you. And Lauren presents himself as someone who is serious about Faith, who really wants to make it work with Faith. He presents himself in that way. Like I said, I think he's playing games, but time will tell. So I thought that her trans sister made a very, very, very good point. I was like just soaking it all in, you know, all of this knowledge and education of a life that I'm not really, you know, familiar with. And that just made me look at things completely differently. Now, I don't think that Faith should stay with Lauren, because I think Lauren is full of it. But I totally understand where her transgendered sister was coming from. Moving on to Chitty and Rain. Rain is finally leaving Nigeria. Not Rain, Renee. It's spelled like Rain, but it's Renee. She's finally leaving Nigeria, and she's still blaming Chitty. She's still blaming Chitty's sister for ruining their relationship. She's taking no accountability at all for herself. She feels like she had nothing to do with her relationship falling apart with Chitty. She goes, she says, I wonder if Chitty will ever realize, you know, that he's letting a good thing go. No, he's not. He's letting the garbage go. So she says to her, Chitty is dead and gone. And we see Chitty. He's sitting in the living room with his sister and brother-in-law. And and he says that there's no way that him and Renee will ever get back together because they're worried about that. The sister's like, well, what if she tries to reach out to you again? What are you going to do? And Chitty's like, it's not going to happen because we're just not meant to be. We're just not compatible. So I will never go back to Renee. And Renee, once she arrives in Albuquerque, she tells us that she's done with humans and she's really open to an alien or any other life form courting her. That is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video. And if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.